Hadean is a geological time period when Earth was first formed approximately 4 billion years ago. You know, there's a ton of history in that. Hadean Series represents to us everything that we've learned, that we've discovered, and everything that we've imagined ever since we first started Evolve, you know, back in 2008. It's pretty much the history of Evolve all in one skateboard. It's everything that we believe an electric skateboard should be. We wanted to create a new type of electric skateboard for our customers that offers more. And what I mean by that is more power, more speed, longer ride times, and even just more refined in terms of the way it feels when you're riding the board. Not to mention, it's got to be beautiful to look at. It's not easy trying to add a heap of extra performance into an electric skateboard without turning it into like a massive tank. That was our biggest challenge. So we had to go back to the drawing board. So what we did was we redesigned the whole electric system, we gave it more power and performance, but then we had to repackage it in a unique way to save on space. There's no other electric skateboard that has been designed and made this way before.
When Jeff first started talking about the Hadean Series, he was talking about the next level of electric skateboards, and what that meant for us was looking at things like high performance vehicles, supercars, high-end design, and creating a product that was unseen and unheard of with technologies and design factors that aren't in the electric skateboard market currently.
The design challenge for our new series of boards was, yes, we were trying to make it bigger and more performance, but we didn't really want to make the board grow bigger too much. So integration of all the componentry was a key factor.
The way we overcame that challenge is by stacking the electrics into the smallest area possible. So we overlaid our new EFOC motor controller, the BMS and the battery PCB, and created new space efficiencies, which we didn't have in our electrics previously. And what also allowed us to achieve that without growing the size of the deck too much was by creating a chassis frame. So by removing material from underneath the electrics and having a drop-in battery enclosure, we were able to stack in a larger cell configuration without impacting the deck shape. So rather than just shoehorning in these electronics inside a deck, we basically came up with more efficient ways to package the electrics so we could have the design dictated by the rider experience and not the electric system.
Achieving more means we had to go bigger. We needed a bigger battery, we needed larger motors, and we needed to make a new motor controller that's capable of handling all of that power. The battery is a 21700 12S 4P configuration, which is approximately 691 watt hours, which is in actual fact 37% larger in size than the existing GTR battery. The 12S voltage has allowed us to produce more power and speed and hold those speeds for much longer throughout the course of the ride. We're using 63 68mm motors on the board, which are 3000 watts each, totaling 6000 watts for the entire board. We began designing the new Hadean Series boards late 2019, and man, it has been a massive journey. It first started with making a new motor controller. We needed a new structure that allowed the new FOC system. And once we're happy with how it looked on the paper, we then quickly had to design new software to actually make it work. So much time and effort has gone into this. It's a ground up design, designed it here in Australia. Got a brand new algorithm and firmware put into it. It is like really quiet, it's really smooth. And the FOC has allowed us to really harness the intense power that the battery and the motors are pushing out.
So FOC stands for field-oriented control. This is also known as vector control. In the industry, we often see people refer to it as sine wave control. So this differs from our previous boards like the GTR, where we use square wave. Essentially, it's just a form of how the ESC controls the motors and how it provides the current to them. FOC in an electric skateboard basically will change the way the board feels when you're riding it. So it changes how we're controlling the motors and how we can control that power delivery. And with that, we can create a smoother power delivery and smoother braking, basically for the end result for the rider. So when we first decided we wanted to use FOC, and we knew the power specs and the performance that we wanted out of it, and we had to look at what was on the market already, delivering that, we realized it just wasn't good enough. The units that were already out there were too big, and so we knew we had to develop it from scratch, a new motor controller to suit our needs. And with that came making the motor controller as compact as possible while still being strong and capable of delivering that power and that performance and all those control aspects that we wanted. In the really early stage of this development, before we got a sample on a board, before we rode anything, this motor controller went through countless tests in a lab. We were using thermal imaging for testing sustained current draw, peak current draw. We were running it one side at a time to make sure we were getting even use out of it. We were swapping brand of components, specs of components, MOSFETs, capacitors, all this to really make sure that we had the unit dialed in to know that once we put it in a board, that from that lab testing, we knew it could handle so much more than what that board was ever going to demand from it. And it's really shown its worth, and that's really evident as soon as you start riding the board. Through all the testing we've done, controlled lab tests, our real world tests, the amount of performance control and reliability that we've gotten from this EFOC system has really given it a huge advantage over all our previous generations, and it's a big step up.
Right in the beginning, when we first started testing the Hadean board, we only had one battery, and it was in this dodgy 3D print case, and it was all taped together, and it was never screwed to the board. I remember it was all wrapped around duct tape on the board. But once we got the electrics to a stage where the motor controller wasn't going to blow up on us, and it can handle a rider weight over just over 100 kilos, it can handle that hard startup acceleration, it was then time to make a few more of these. We ended up making about 10 beta samples, and the goal for these beta samples were to find any weak points with the hardware and any software. And basically, we were trying to break them.
Bone dry.
These were real-world test conditions with different rider weights, with our focus being trying to put as much strain and load through the board as possible. Our go-to places for these kind of tests were on grassy ovals and super steep hills, and we needed riders who were super experienced and who were capable of putting maximum stress on these boards. These tests were awesome because it allowed us to really dial in the software and find out actually how strong this board really is.
The testing on the Hadean boards was relentless. Once we had the prototypes together, what we had to do was ride them as close to the limits as possible for as long as we possibly could. I weigh in at just over 100 kilos, so I'm sort of the go-to guy for putting extreme strain on the electric system. One of the first things we did with the Hadean was take it to a local hill we called the board breaker to see how many times it could go up, how fast it can go up, and what points will be hit failure or overheating.
28 kilometers an hour.
Just for reference, the GTR board can get me up, but slowly, and on the second run, it'll enter heat protection mode. The Hadean board got me up there 4 times the speed of the GTR, and the most impressive bit was it did it over and over again on back-to-back runs.
Hadean Belly Hill, test 1. Go. 8th time up the hill. I've only ever made it up this hill once before. Run number 12 down to 22, 21 kilometers an hour. It's run 22. The board won't fail, so I got to jinx myself and actually say it to camera. System's hot, but climbing Burley Hill. Burley Hill, run number 23. The board feels a little bit different this run. I think I'm gonna call that heat protection. Down to 7 kilometers an hour. It actually hit heat protect, it went red. Can confirm they're f***ing hot.
The testing phase itself went on for months and months as we tested everything from the power system to the physical structure to all the software.
Go, go, go! Yes!
This really just meant spending a lot of time on the board writing in real world scenarios, essentially abusing it in every conceivable way, which is kind of fun. We found limits, we made adjustments, and we kept doing that over and over again, dialing in the ride feeling and also the firmware until we have the Hadean that we all ride now.
Whilst we've been able to put a bigger electric system on it, one of the best things that we're stoked about with this board is that we haven't made it really much longer. It's very similar wheelbase to what the GTR system is. But what we've done is we've modified the deck stance. So we were able to get our feet further apart, but not increase the overall length of the wheelbase. We've made the deck a little bit wider, probably about 20 mil wider. We've got more drop downs, so you've got that foot lock-in stance, and it's changed the whole ride. Like, it's now, it just gives you more stability on the board when you stand on it. You can really hook in more, and we feel as though you've got more control given the board's a little bit wider, and you can get those feet just a little bit further apart without sacrificing the overall length of the board.
Like, one of the ways we're able to achieve the same size deck as the GTR series was by using a forged carbon chassis frame. And the benefit of the forged carbon is that it's a lot stronger than the standard carbon just because of the way it's hand layered, and all the pieces of carbon are kind of like cross-hatched and working in all directions, which makes it really strong. So we worked really close with our manufacturing partners to create this really innovative deck shape. So we're able to remove material but still maintain strength. The idea was that we didn't want to leave anything untouched. We wanted to think about every facet of the board. So everything that we had learned from the GTR we wanted to improve on, and that came all the way through to like the hubs, the gears, the cable management system, the on-off switch. The reason behind that was that we wanted to make sure everything was looked at and addressed and improved upon. There's no off-the-shelf componentry here. It was all designed and thought about.
An improvement that we wanted to make with the new Hadean series was a brand new remote. This remote needed to feel awesome in the hand. It needed to have a brand new LCD screen with a heap of new functions and control. And more importantly, it had to be rock solid, tough as nails. We achieved all this by producing a forged aluminium frame that's sandwiched between two rubber overmold slides. It's given the phase a durable, tough, high-end look and feel that you would expect from a premium product. It's got a new LCD screen and a new menu display that's been inspired by sort of the automotive industry. You can customize your LED lights. It's got a new brake trigger that triggers the brake lights on the board. It also has smart features such as notification for board status and automatic trigger calibration prompts. All right, so we want to test the durability of the phase remote now that it's got the CNC frame. We're going to do a drop test. It's got to be dropped at 1.2 meters in height on a concrete surface with a plywood top. 26 times, different spots on the product. Let's give it a go. We've done 26 now. I reckon we should just keep going. Let's get rid of these boards and do it on concrete.
Yep.
That's still working. Ain't gonna survive. No way. So it worked. We just got to place the glass on it now, and I reckon that's enough. Like, if anyone's gonna treat their remotes like that, and you're still gonna get this amount of use out of it, they're gonna be stoked. Once we got the physical structure right of the motor controller, the battery system, and the software and how the board controls and feels, we really needed to make it more smart. We made sure it can handle the extra power being produced by the batteries and motors whilst delivering a super smooth power delivery and having way more smarts in it, such as RGB LED lights that's connected as a brake light. There's a new app that allows you to get in there and dial in your acceleration and brake curves and power. And there's a whole heap of extra other stuff in there that just all adds up to a super smooth, safe ride. Coming up with the Hadean specs hasn't been an easy task for us, given how powerful it is and what it's capable of doing. So the best way we thought to do this was get 3 different riders, 3 different rider weights, 3 different riding styles, and in 3 different riding environments. We felt this is a great way to showcase how different variables will affect board performance, and we use this to generate our spec sheet. So we're here today. This is the first of a series of range tests for the Hadean Series boards. We've got 3 boards here. They're all fully 100% charged. We've got 3 riders. Let's go test this out. Let's see how our legs hold up.
That's my ride done. The board turned off at 43.5 kilometers.
Right, so I just made it to 51.5 kilometers.
Finally finished. Got a total of 58.1 kilometers.
This time it's a very different test to the first one. There's a bunch of hills, there's a bunch of gravel. It is totally carefree. We're going to be in Corsa mode and we're going to cane these boards.
Talk about dollars and I'd have a problem. I feel in my pockets, wonder what could solve it. Maybe a tip.
Steep hill, dodging cow patties, massive boulders, loose terrain. Fell off once. Baldwin Street practice.
I ran out of battery. So we got to take this one out of Jeff's range. I'm on 11%.
It was around 41.3 kilometers when it died. I was at 1% and I hit a really soft patch of gravel. The board turned off.
I got something in my brain, 2 cents is everything I have to say. Either pay or sell out to get you.
This is test number 3. Our aim here is to kill these boards and drain the batteries as fast as we can in an extremely harsh environment, which is going to be thick grass. So we're here today, we're going to do the range test exactly how we did it on the ATs. This time we're in street mode. We got 97 wheels, 32 teeth gears, 3 riders. Let's give it a crack.
No more excuses. Put the shoulda, coulda, wouldas in the nooses and build my wooden casket.
So I'm at 40% and I've done
45.1 kilometers.
Nick's broken. We've been riding about 3.5 hours now, and the sun's going down. That's fun. It's going to get dark by the time we finish this. My board has just died bang on 68 kilometers.
So I've just got back. I did 68 kilometers all up, so pretty much exactly the same as Matt. I'm done. My legs are sore. Pretty good result, really.
Who's that?
Thank you very much.
What did you get?
81.4.
Oh my gosh. Well done. Good effort.
My feet are so sore.
We're on our 5th range test. This time we're going to be on the street boards again. However, we're just going to ride them super hard. There's going to be hills compared to the inner city environment. This will be a good comparison test to see what happens with the battery life. Let's go have a look.
I put my t-shirt in my mouth to keep from saying things I shouldn't.
I ended up with 39.9 kilometers.
Elevation gain about 960 meters. So pretty solid ride, and there's a lot of hills in that.
Hauling ass everywhere we went.
Those hills were just relentless. We're here today, the back of the Gold Coast. We got a super steep hill. It's about 17% gradient, not the steepest street in the world. Goes for about 400 meters long. What we're going to do, we're going to go head to head. The GTR series versus the Hadean series. Let's see which one wins. Up the top of the hill first. 3, 2, 1, go.
These little demons living underneath my bed creeping. Know the real monster lives above them all sleeping. That subtle breathing in your closet every single evening. Thought you never see me again, looks can be deceiving. When they hear the sound of the drum, they'll be saying, oh Lord, here they come. Yeah, here we come.
So the performance is clear. The Hadean board just went up there really quick compared to the GTR. Not only does it have awesome performance, it manages heat really well. These are lukewarm. Motor controller has like no heat at all. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's being worked. Hey, the GTR still got up the hill okay. You know, it does what we've always said it does, but this just did it much easier and faster. We're in a professional cycle track, the surface is mint. We're going to do a 100-meter sprint. Let's time it from start to finish and compare the results.
Full speed, both hands on the wheel, baby. Young Taz coming from the Mobile, baby. You know the drill, baby. Yeah. And when you hear the sound.
Back in New Zealand at Borwood Street, the steepest street in the world. We're about to take this Hadean board up the top of the hill in all-terrain mode, and it is 6 degrees. It is cold. Let's go. Oh, get the fuck out of here. Last time we did this hill, it was on street wheels on the GTR board. And we didn't try to do it on AT wheels because we know that it'll never get up in AT mode. This time on the Hadean we did AT mode. The roads are a bit slippery and it just destroyed it. Come on! With the Hadean series, you would expect the street board to do about 50 kilometers top speed,
and which works out to be at 31 miles an hour with a range of 65 kilometers or 40 miles. With the AT setup, I would expect a 40 kilometer range or 25 miles top and a speed of 42 kilometers per hour or 26 miles an hour. It will pretty much tackle any hill you throw at it. The Hadean Series is not here to replace the existing GTR series. It's here to add a whole new level of electric skate performance. It's got more power, it's got more range, there's a lot more refinement to it. This is the Hadean Series.